I still had his taste on my lips when I walked back into the ballroom, pretending I'd just come from the bathroom. My heart was still pounding. My panties were balled up in my purse. And my fiancé, God help me, my sweet, nervous, perfect fiancé was standing at the podium, thanking everyone for coming. His mom was crying. His best friend raised a glass. And all I could hear was the echo of the bathroom stall door clicking shut, the sound of his belt, the way his hands gripped my hips like he never stopped thinking about me. Like he still owned me. I stood next to my bridesmaids, smiling like I hadn't just thrown away everything. Like I hadn't just made the biggest mistake of my life in under 7 minutes. The worst part? I didn't feel guilty. Not yet. Before I tell you what happened next, make sure you're alone. This story doesn't end the way you think. The first mistake was inviting Ethan. Not because we were on bad terms, we weren't. That was the problem. We were too good at pretending to be just friends. Ethan was my ex, the kind you never really get over. We met in college, spent 3 years tangled up in each other's lives and beds, and ended things not because we stopped loving each other, but because we couldn't stop hurting each other. We were fire and gasoline. Every kiss was a war, and every goodbye felt like death. So when it ended, it had to end completely. No contact. No late night just checking in texts. Nothing. And yet, 2 years later, there I was, slipping his name onto the guest list like it wouldn't matter. Like he wasn't still a loaded weapon pointed at my future. "Are you sure?" my maid of honor, Liv, had asked. "I mean, he's your ex. Won't that be weird?" "I've moved on," I lied, sipping my wine to avoid eye contact. It's ancient history. The truth was, I hadn't seen Ethan in 18 months. Not since he moved out of the city, not since he started dating that art curator with the flawless skin and expensive taste. I told myself it would be fine. That he probably wouldn't even come. But the RSVP came in 2 weeks before the rehearsal dinner, yes, +1, and my stomach flipped in a way that felt far too familiar. The day he walked in, wearing that navy suit he knew made his eyes look lethal, I felt 17 again. I was shaking, all confidence gone, like I was standing naked in a room full of mirrors. He hugged me like nothing had changed. "You look incredible," he whispered, just loud enough for me to hear, his lips brushing the shell of my ear like a ghost from another life. My fiancé, Jake, was across the room, chatting with my dad. Jake, the safest man I'd ever known. Dependable, thoughtful, stable. The kind of man who remembers your mom's birthday and keeps band-aids in his wallet just in case. He was the opposite of Ethan in every way. And I needed that. I needed someone who wouldn't destroy me just because he was in pain. Still, the moment I locked eyes with Ethan from across the buffet table, I knew I'd made a mistake. He wasn't just here to be polite. He was here for me. He caught me outside by the smoking patio, even though I don't smoke. "Funny seeing you here," he said, voice low and teasing. "You were invited," I said, keeping my arms crossed. "So technically, it's not funny at all." "I thought you wouldn't want to see me," he said. "Especially not before the big day." I shrugged, trying to appear casual, even though my pulse was crawling up my neck. "It's a party. You're just another guest." He stared at me for a long moment, then smirked. "That's a lie." And it was. Every word I said that night tasted like ash. We kept our distance until dessert. I avoided him. I tried to act like I didn't notice how close he sat during dinner, how his eyes never left me during Jake's toast. I even laughed when Liv made some dumb joke about cold feet. But the moment Jake stood up with his glass raised, thanking everyone for coming, something inside me snapped. Or maybe it had been cracking all along. I stood up, left my wine glass half full, and walked down the hall to the women's restroom. The heels clicked beneath me like a metronome counting down my sins. I wasn't expecting him to follow. But I wasn't surprised when he did. He didn't say a word. Just pulled me into the handicapped stall and kissed me like his mouth had been waiting for this moment since the day we broke up. Like his teeth remembered my skin. Like I was his unfinished business. We didn't talk. We didn't even look at each other properly. It was frantic. Desperate. Animal. And when it was over, I wiped my lipstick, straightened my dress, and told myself I'd bury it. That it was a one-time mistake. That I could go back out there, smile for the cameras, and marry Jake like nothing ever happened. But as I stepped back into the ballroom, my eyes met Ethan's across the crowd. He smirked. And I realized this wasn't over. I barely slept that night. Jake was beside me in bed, snoring softly, one arm lazily draped across my waist like a man without a single worry in the world. And why would he worry? His bride had just cheated on him, but he didn't know that. He still saw me as the girl who chose him. The girl who said yes. The girl who never looked back. I stared at the ceiling until sunrise, the scent of Ethan still on my skin like a bruise that hadn't bloomed yet. I showered twice. Scrubbed every inch. But guilt doesn't come off with soap. At breakfast, Ethan sat across from me at the long table in the hotel's private dining room, as if nothing had happened. As if he hadn't undone every zipper I was planning to seal with vows tomorrow. He stirred his coffee, smiled at Jake, complimented my mother's lemon scones. And all I could think was, he still had a mark on his neck. A faint red crescent. Mine. I wanted to crawl out of my skin. After everyone left to start getting ready for the ceremony walkthrough, Ethan caught me by the elevators. "Can we talk?" he asked. I nodded, numb. He took me up to his room. The same one he'd checked into with his new girlfriend, who apparently had a last-minute gallery thing and wouldn't be flying in until the morning of the wedding. How convenient. We sat at opposite ends of the couch, like it made a difference. "I didn't plan it," he said. "Last night." "I know." He looked at me, his face too calm. "But I'm not sorry." I swallowed hard. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you're marrying the wrong man." And there it was. The earthquake under the calm. "You don't get to say that," I said. "You had your chance. You left." "I left because I was toxic," he snapped. "We were toxic. But I never stopped loving you. You know that." My voice broke. "And now you think screwing me the night before my wedding is what? Redemption?" "No," he said. "I think it's a warning. From the universe. That you're not done with me." I stood. "You're wrong. I am. I have to be." He didn't chase me. He never did. That was the thing with Ethan, he always made me do the chasing. The begging. The regretting. I spent the rest of the day pretending I was okay. Smiling through the wedding rehearsal, holding Jake's hand as we practiced vows. But I couldn't stop checking my phone. Ethan hadn't texted. He hadn't called. He wasn't even at the rehearsal dinner that evening, even though he was on the list. I told myself I was relieved. That it was good. That distance was healthy. But it felt like abandonment. Like he'd gotten what he wanted, and now I had to live with it. The next morning, I woke up in a fog. The kind that comes after a hangover of the heart. My bridesmaids buzzed around me with makeup and curling irons, and my mother cried 4 times before noon. Jake sent a handwritten note through his cousin. It said, "I can't wait to call you my wife. You saved me in ways I'll never be able to repay." I almost threw up. And yet, I put on the dress. I held the bouquet. I smiled for the photos. But 20 minutes before the ceremony was supposed to start, I found a note tucked under the flower arrangement on my makeup table. No name. Just 2 words. Check room 614. My hands trembled as I made an excuse about needing air. I walked through the back hallway barefoot, carrying my heels like a coward. Room 614. I knocked once. The door opened. Ethan. Shirt half buttoned. Eyes tired, like he hadn't slept either. "I wasn't going to do this," he said. "Then don't," I whispered. "But I love you. And if you walk out that door and marry him, you'll never see me again." His voice didn't waver. Mine did. "What do you expect me to do?" "Run," he said. "Run now. Or stay and lie forever." I looked at the clock. 18 minutes. "Ethan," I started. But I couldn't finish the sentence. I turned. I walked out. I thought he'd follow. He didn't. I didn't cry on my wedding day. Not when I slept into the lace gown that took 6 months to tailor. Not when my father squeezed my hand before walking me down the aisle. Not even when Jake looked at me like I was the sun rising just for him. I didn't cry, because if I started, I knew I wouldn't stop. The ceremony was perfect. Too perfect. Like a scene I'd seen in dreams and Pinterest boards, one I was performing now like an understudy who'd memorized the lines but forgot what they meant. I said the vows. I kissed the groom. I smiled for the cameras. And then, in the soft chaos of the reception, with people buzzing like champagne in my ears, I looked for him. I searched every corner of that ballroom, convinced Ethan would appear, dramatic and broken and selfish enough to ruin everything. But he didn't. He meant what he said. If I married Jake, I'd never see him again. And just like that, he disappeared. No texts. No missed calls. No angry voicemails. No closure. I tried to bury it. For weeks, I tried to let the routine of being a newlywed fix me. I cooked, cleaned, played house like a good little wife. Jake was everything he promised, gentle, consistent, kind. But love isn't always gentle. And sometimes, kindness feels like a cage when you know what passion tastes like. I couldn't stop thinking about Ethan. Not just the sex. It wasn't about that. It was the look he gave me when he said I was marrying the wrong man. The conviction in his voice. Like he knew me better than I knew myself. Jake didn't notice at first. He chalked up my distance to post-wedding stress. Blamed the honeymoon blues. Took me out to dinner. Bought me flowers. Tried. But eventually, trying isn't enough. 2 months into our marriage, Jake found the note. Room 614. I hadn't thrown it out. I thought I had. But I guess it got folded into the journal I kept in the bedside drawer. He was looking for a pen. Found the pages instead. He didn't say anything right away. I came home from work to silence. No TV. No music. Just Jake sitting at the kitchen island, the note in one hand, my journal in the other. I read it, he said. I froze. All of it. I couldn't breathe. Jake. Don't. His voice cracked. Don't say you're sorry. Not yet. I sank into the chair across from him, shaking. You wrote about him. About the stall. About walking back out like nothing happened. About how you felt nothing. No guilt. That was the truth, I said, my voice barely a whisper. That's what scares me, he said. Not that you cheated. But that it didn't break you. It did. But not in the way he needed it to. I wanted to cry, to beg, to rewind everything. But instead, I sat there and let the silence swallow me. Jake stood, slowly. Walked past me. I can't be your second choice, he said. I won't. He packed a bag that night. Left the house before midnight. And this time, I didn't chase him. I sat alone in the dark, wearing the same ring I said yes to, wondering when exactly my heart had turned to glass, and why I hadn't noticed the cracks until it shattered. The next morning, I texted Ethan. He found out. It's over. No reply. I waited a day. 2. A week. Nothing. I checked his Instagram, gone. Deleted. Vanished. It was like he had never existed. Like the universe gave me exactly what I asked for, a clean break. No distractions. No temptation. Just silence. And in that silence, I realized something even more terrifying than regret. Maybe Ethan didn't ruin me. Maybe I ruined myself. 6 months. That's how long it took for the texts to stop. From friends. From Jake's family. From the bridesmaids who once swore they'd be my sisters for life. Everyone picked a side. And no one picked mine. I stayed in the house. The one Jake and I had moved into just before the wedding. It still had the his and hers mugs in the cabinet, still smelled like his cologne on the couch cushions. I tried changing the sheets, repainting the bedroom, throwing out the wedding photos. But memory doesn't live in things. It lives in air. In silence. In the way a floorboard creaks when no one else is home. I told myself I deserved this. I got a job at a new firm. Went by my maiden name again. Stopped wearing my ring. But I never felt single. I just felt in limbo. Ethan never reached out. Not once. Not a "how are you," not even a "read receipt." I checked his name obsessively for a while, Facebook, Twitter, even LinkedIn. Like some digital grave robbing. But he was gone. One night, drunk and aching, I left him a voicemail. I ruined everything. "Are you happy now?" I never got a reply. Jake filed for divorce 2 weeks after I sent the message. Quietly. Kindly. Like everything he ever did. He didn't ask for the house, or money, or vengeance. Just a clean split. I wanted him to scream. I wanted him to tell me I was a monster. But he didn't. He just left, the same way he arrived, softly. The funny thing about betrayal is how quiet it is. Everyone thinks it's dramatic, explosive. But it's not. It's a whisper that follows you down every hallway. It's brushing your teeth at night and realizing no one is coming home. It's hearing a knock and praying it's him, even though you know it never will be. Some nights, I still dream about that stall. Not the sex. The second before it. The second our eyes met, and we both knew what was about to happen, and did nothing to stop it. That was the moment I stepped off the ledge. The fall just took longer than I expected. I saw Jake once, months later, at a cafe near the lake. He was with someone new. She laughed like she wasn't afraid to be heard. His arm was around her shoulders like it belonged there. He saw me. And for a second, our eyes locked. I opened my mouth, maybe to wave, maybe to apologize. But he just smiled, tight, polite, and looked away. That's when it hit me. He'd healed. And I hadn't. Because even now, when the house is quiet, and my phone doesn't light up, and no one asks where I am or who I'm with, I still wait. Wait for someone to knock. Wait for Ethan to come back. Wait for Jake to scream. But all I get is silence. And the sound of no one knocking.